and welcome to the monthly Oracle Wisdom. My name is Natalie Sadie, and we are going to have a look at what the Oracle cards have to tell you for the month ahead. Now, I like to do the monthly and the weekly readings differently. So the weekly reading is a collective reading. While the monthly is still a collective reading, we do pick a pile. So you can have a look at the crystals on each pile, feel which one appeals to you most, and that is the reading, or that is the pile that is meant for you. And maybe there's two piles, maybe you can't decide, and so there's a message in each of the piles for you. That is up to you to decide. So let's dive right in. Pile number 1 is the Shungite Truth Palm Stone. Pile number 2 is the Orange Calcite Owl. And then we have the Red Tiger's Eye for pile number 3. So take a moment, take a big deep breath, close your eyes if that helps, and think about if there was one crystal that jumped out to you, the Shungite, the Orange Calcite, or the Tiger's Eye. And we are going to get started. Okay, so for those of you that picked pile number 1, which is the Shungite Truth Palm Stone, we are going to get started. Now, normally I do 5 cards with the first deck, 3 with the second, 1 with the final deck, but the cards insisted that it was 6 for the first deck for everybody. So we are starting off with the Future Higher Self Oracle, and we'll just have a look at all of them and then we'll go through it. New chapters require a new version of you. You will be blessed more than you could ever imagine. You are currently under construction. Please be patient. Let go of the idea that you're not ready. To rise, you must let go of fear. Following your heart will lead you to the right things. Okay, so first off, there's clearly a whole lot of change going on for you, and I think that there is a good amount of fear as to whether you're doing the right thing, whether you're moving in the right direction. And part of that fear, I think, is letting go of who you've been and who the world is used to seeing you as. And that means all of your friends and family and everybody around you, because often when we change, these people start going, hang on, what are you doing? This isn't who you are, and why are you doing this? And they question the new things that we're doing, and they wonder if we've lost our minds, or they get uncomfortable because the direction we're moving in doesn't necessarily serve them, and that's where the big issue is. You have to be comfortable with the fact that you are changing, and as you step into this new version of you, you know, people have to accept that you will change how you move through this world, and that's a great thing. Now, I feel like you're not there yet. Like, this journey is just beginning. And so with this fear, you're sitting there not only dealing with the projections that are being put upon you, but the fear of, will this work out? Am I doing the right thing? And the reality is, this is the universe reminding you that it's going to be better than you even imagined. But in order to get the rewards from this new journey, you actually have to go on it, and you're not going to see them unless you actually go. So I think that there's a lot of push-pull this month as you're figuring your way through this and what direction you're moving in, the voices on the outside and what they're saying to you. And this fear of, I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. And the reality is, you are ready. We we're always waiting to do things. When I'm ready, this is what I'm going to do. When this is in place, this is what I'm going to do. When in reality, sometimes we just need to leap. We need to leap and trust that we will figure it out. You know, we talk about training people and throwing them in the deep end. And it's that time to take that leap of faith and go, I can do this. I don't know how, but I know that I can. And it's time to actually do it. The other thing is, in amongst the fear, the question is, well, why aren't I there yet? I've made the decision and I need to get there. It takes time. So don't expect everything to fall into place. Like, don't expect that bolt of lightning to come down and be like, this is it, and it's done. It doesn't always work that way. You need to know that this takes time. So taking the first step is huge and should be celebrated, and you should be thrilled that you've done it. But be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself through this process. Once you commit to it, that it is going to take time. I understand that frustration. So then we obviously have the card that to rise, you must let go of fear. You know, I love this illustration because it's the person stepping through the door and they don't know what's on the other side, but they know they have to do it. So that's where you're at. And the final confirmation from the Future Higher Self Oracle is following your heart will lead you to the right things. So if you know in your soul, at a soul level, that this is the direction that you're meant to be moving in, listen to that. We so often know what it is we're meant to do, and we talk ourselves out of it because we let those outside voices convince us that they're right and they know better. We allow our own self-limiting beliefs, which come from our epigenetics and from our parents and how we were raised, or our siblings or the bullies at school, convince us that we could never do anything like that. But ultimately, when we follow our heart, everything always works out. I last night went to see the new Elvis movie. It's Baz Luhrmann has put together a whole bunch of never before seen footage of Elvis doing interviews and rehearsals and concerts and things like that. And I watched this movie with a smile on my face for the entire thing because it's just beautiful. And the reason it's so beautiful is this man came to this earth, whether you like his music or not, it's irrelevant. This man came to this earth to be that superstar. And he followed that. And I get it. He was like a shooting star in that he came in, he blazed such a incredible path and changed our pop culture forever. And I don't think it's ever been replicated in the same way. And he did that because he followed his heart. And in that, in one of the interview parts of it, he talks about when he was younger, he was offered a bicycle or a guitar, and he had to choose one. He couldn't have both. And so he chose the guitar. And his dad was like, well, you can learn to play the guitar, but I've never met a guitar player that's worth a damn. Well, look at what this man did, following his heart. So you have to start listening to that and stop listening to the self-limiting beliefs. And I understand how difficult that can be. One of my challenges in this life is learning to quiet the self-critic that I have. And we could have a whole therapy session and I could tell you where that comes from, and I understand where it is. And so one of my battles in life is trusting what I'm doing and to not criticize myself at the end of it. You know, I'm not successful enough. I haven't gotten there fast enough. I haven't done this. Somebody else is doing better than me. No. So now I focus on my path and what I'm doing and how I can improve. And that's the only way that things get better. And can I tell you, every time that's my focus, things move forward so much faster than if I'm focused on what everybody else is doing around me or the things I'm doing wrong. So keep that in mind. So now we've got 3 cards from the Sacred Destiny Oracle. So we have thriving, potential, and delight. So these are a Denise Linn deck, and I do love her cards. So you are thriving. You are already in a great spot. You know, this card is on the African plains. You've got the giraffes. You've got this beautiful, I don't know if it's a sunrise or a sunset, but it kind of looks like almost like a bit of both. You've got these rays coming up. You've got the beautiful moon in the sky. Everything is peaceful. Everything is beautiful. Part of what you need to realize this month, not only the things that I've just talked about, is that you are exactly where you need to be and you are fine and wonderful. There was a day that I was going to an audition in Melbourne and I was in a bit of a dark place. I needed to move from where I was and I was moving elsewhere, and I knew ultimately it would be okay, but the stress and the financial strain on me was incredible, and I didn't know how I was going to make it through without dying of a heart attack or developing ulcers or something like that. Anyway, I pulled up and I parked on the street, and there was a homeless man sitting at a shop front, and he sort of had his head down. He wasn't asking anybody for anything. And I watched how people maneuvered themselves around him, like they averted their eyes and they didn't want to interact with him. And all of this is going on. And I remember thinking, oh, that's awful. And I went to my audition, did the audition. It was fine. I don't remember if it was great or terrible or anything. I think it was fine. I don't think I ultimately got that job, but I know now that I was there for a very different reason. And I went back to my car and I sat in the car and I just watched this homeless person, again, not bothering anybody, not asking for anything, just existing. And I watched how the whole world sort of turned their back on him. And I sat there and I thought about my own situation, because we often become quite, I don't want to say self-absorbed, but self-focused in those moments. And I realized that for all the stress that I had going on and the chaos that I was trying to smooth out and get my life into a different place, I had a roof over my head. I had like my bills paid. I was going to be warm that night. I had food in my cupboards. I could feed myself. I was in a really good position. And it's all about perspective. And with that, I really was in a tough spot financially. But with that, I looked in my wallet and I saw that I had $20. That was all the cash that I had. And I got out of the car and I walked over to this man and I said, hey, how are you doing? He's like, oh, it's been a bit rough. And I said, okay. I said, I hope this helps. And he looked and he goes, I can go and get a coffee and a muffin. I said, you can get whatever you want. And he said, I can get a coffee and a muffin tomorrow as well. I said, yes, you can. And so we chatted for a little bit and he was really grateful. And I was really grateful for two things. I was grateful that I was in the position that I was because I was doing so much better than I actually thought that I was. And I was grateful because I was able to not change his life, but I was able to make at least that day, if not the next few days, a little bit better for him. And I got in the car and I had a completely different outlook on life. And as I sat there for a moment before I drove off, I saw another man walk up and give him either a $20 or a $50 note. And then he chatted to him for a little bit. And by the time I drove off, this man that had been trying to be invisible was sitting there with a grin on his face and he was so happy. And I know the money made a difference, but I honestly believe that the thing that made him smile the most was that he wasn't invisible. And if I was able to alter that for him, I'm just like, you know what, that's the best thing I could possibly do. So I tell this story not because of what I did for him, but because it's all about perspective. I was great. I was fine. I absolutely had stress. I absolutely had financial worries. I had all of these things going on, but I was still great. And so even as you're going through this period of change and you're questioning everything, know that you are thriving, you are doing great things, and all of this upheaval and these questions, and where you're being forced to look at what changes you need to make and learning to block out the noise from the outside. All of this is part of it because it's strengthening you for everything that's coming next. Learning to actually listen to the voice of your heart and listen to where your soul needs to go. All of these are good things. So just know that you're thriving. Don't ever forget the potential that you have. And there's always more. There is always more that we can do. This is just a personal perspective. I have never understood, and listen, we're all here for different purposes. I've never understood getting to a place and reaching a goal and going, okay, I'm done now. There is nothing else I need to strive for. For me, I need to keep going because I figure there's always something else. If I could do that in this period of time, then I can go on and I can do 20 other things that are going to be freaking amazing. And so I know that potential is always there. And I always want to like dive deep and find out what else I can do, what else I am capable of. So just know that there is a potential for so much. There is the potential to reach the stars. So know that as you're figuring all of this out this month. And then our final card from the Sacred Destiny Oracle is Delight. There is happiness at the end of this. And I think there's truly happiness and joy that you're going to find on this journey and as you figure this out, because you're going to attract new things into your life, new situations, new opportunities, new people, just new adventures. So embrace all of that. I think this is a really good month for you, and I'm excited at the unfolding of what's going on. Okay, so we're finishing up with one card pulled from, if you watched last week's weekly Oracle Wisdom, you saw that I got some new cards at Conscious Life Expo. These are the Spirit Cards Oracle deck by John Moseley. I am so in love with this deck. I'm in love with this artwork. So we've just pulled one from there, and that is Wind Spirit. Circulation, clearing, impetus. Yeah, this is the month where this whole new chapter begins. You're clearing the path for the direction that you're moving into. And so you're making space for this new version of you, the new space that you need as you move forward on this journey. And I think that, think about a windy day when it comes and it blows everything away, and then all of a sudden there's nothing in front of you. This is what's happening this month. It is just the start, and I think it's super exciting. So just know that you are ready for whatever is coming your way. Now, for those of you that picked pile number 2, which was the orange calcite owl. Okay, so we are going to get started with the Future Higher Self Oracle. This is a MahrukhX deck. Good luck sometimes comes disguised as bad luck. It's okay not to have all the answers. They will come to you when you need them. Life will be a roller coaster. Enjoy the ride and stop trying to be in control. You're a lot tougher than you think you are. Spend less time worrying about your appearance. You're enough. A detour is available to you right now that can be a benefit. Okay, so right off the bat, I feel as if this month may be, I'll say, a little more challenging. And I think that ultimately it's going to serve you in terms of the direction that you're moving in and where you need to go. But I often talk about roadblocks being a way for the universe to redirect us and get us on the path that we're meant to be on. And this may be one of those months. And it makes sense. We have Mercury that's just gone retrograde. So, we're tying up loose ends from the past, and it can often delay things that we want to move forward, unless they're things that were started a long time ago. And this is more about finishing all of that up. We have the lunar eclipse happening on the 6th. So we have that happening. We're still in eclipse season. And that's, setting up this new cycle, or is it closing one off? I can't remember. But that eclipse energy is going to be powerful. Up here in North America, we're going to see the blood moon. So I think that this is just a month where we have to kind of relinquish control. And it's frustrating as somebody that struggles with not being in control of what's happening. I completely understand the frustration and things that are going on and being felt. But this is a month where we have to just kind of throw our hands up and surrender to the universe and go, okay, I'm along for this ride, and let's go and do it. So the first card, good luck, sometimes comes disguised as bad luck. Absolutely. There are moments where these roadblocks appear and it feels like it's devastating, end of the world. Sometimes it's just frustrating, but we'll be dramatic for the sake of this to illustrate the point. What happens is, in those moments, we think that the sky is falling, our world is crumbling, and things just aren't going to work out. In reality, what's happening is the path we're on isn't going to be fruitful in the way that we need it to. So this is the universe going, hang on, this is the wrong path. We need to just redirect. And I always say rejection is the universe's protection. And it is, because I have had many moments in my life where something hasn't worked out. I've been redirected on another route. And then when I'm sitting there, 6 months in or 12 months into that pathway, or walking that path, I look around and I have the recognition that, oh my goodness, this is why that didn't work out, because I needed to be here in this moment with these people and have these adventures. So like I said, I'm using an extreme example. It doesn't need to be that bad, but just know that if something doesn't work out, there is a really good reason for it. Often we get the answers, but they come in later. We don't know immediately in those moments. Other times we never get the answers, but we have to trust, okay? There is a reason why it didn't work out. And if you don't know why, it's totally okay. You're not meant to know. And look, I'm a big one for closure, and there have been moments where I have thought I'm not going to get closure, and closure has sometimes come to me years later, or almost at a point where it didn't matter anymore, but it has allowed me to go, okay, I wasn't crazy in that moment, or I didn't know all of this extra information, and now that I do, things make so much more sense. So just know that just because you don't have the answers now doesn't mean they're not coming later. They may not, but this is where we have to, again, surrender to what the universe is telling us. We've talked about not being in control. And this is when you surrender and you go, okay, well, I'm along for the ride. That's when things get fun, because the universe is like, okay, they understand the assignment. Now this is where we get to go on an adventure. And you say yes to things because you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. So sure, let's go do this. And that could lead to the greatest thing ever. The other thing is, if you're questioning whether you can get through this, you can, because you're tough enough to do all this. And this is all about growth and redirection and timing. And we don't always want to hear that, because we want what we want and we want it when we want it. And if you're like me, you want it yesterday or last year, because let's just keep moving. But that's not always what destiny is. So in all of this stress, if you become focused on your appearance, because sometimes when we don't have control of things, it's easy to get distracted or focus on something that we feel we have control of. You know, maybe I'm not pretty enough. Maybe I'm too old. Maybe I have too many wrinkles. Maybe I've gotten too fat. Maybe I am too fat. Maybe I'm too skinny. No, you're perfect exactly as you are. There is nothing that you need to change. And all of this has nothing to do with how you look. You are beautiful and you are perfect. Don't start nitpicking on the small little things because you're feeling inadequate, because that it's just not going to serve you. I feel like this is really more a symptom or a way to feel like we are in control in some way. And it's not going to help anything. Worrying about all of that, you need to understand that this is just a moment in time where you just have to, like I said, throw your hands in the air and be like, let's do this. And then finally, with the Future Higher Self Oracle, a detour is available to you right now that can be a benefit. So you may find that when this bad luck appears, another opportunity presents itself. So like I said, these detours, these roadblocks that we get, they serve a purpose, and there may be a better way to get to where you're going. But you need to surrender. You need to be open to the possibility that the way you're getting to where you're going may look different. And maybe there's more of a journey. Maybe there's a faster way to get there. Either way, things are unraveling exactly as they're meant to. And this is a month to just go, you know what? I have no control. I have no control over any of this. So sure, let's say yes to these opportunities and really enjoy the ride. And the moment you stop fighting it, the easier it will be. If you keep fighting it all the way and trying to hang on to things that don't serve you, it's going to be so much harder for you. Okay, so then we've got 3 cards from Denise Linn's Sacred Destiny Oracle. And so we have Focus, we have Wisdom, and we have Success. So here's the thing. I think you are very focused on where it is you need to go and what direction you're moving in. And that is amazing. I think that to have that very clear idea is a wonderful thing. But this is where you need to tap into that wisdom that your soul already has. You already have that within you. And this is where you need to be able to navigate this. This is really a test to see if you're going to surrender in the way that you need to do it. And if you have a look at this image, you've got this beautiful mermaid that looks so ethereal, and she's down there with the fish and she's talking to them. I look at that as she's sharing her wisdom with the fish. Like, she's explaining what needs to happen. You have that mermaid within you, and at a soul level, you understand what needs to happen. And I think that even if this bad luck presents itself, now the bad luck doesn't need to be catastrophic. The bad luck could just be a really frustrating setback that you're like, seriously? And maybe it's some stupid little thing that forces your hand, you know? It's Mercury retrograde. It's like when your computer just stops working. So last night I was trying to do something before I went to bed. My computer would not work. It would not work properly. So in the end, I restarted it. I went and did what I needed to do on my phone. I found a workaround. I'm like, okay, well, I got that dealt with, and I went to bed. Today, my computer's fine. So that could be the bad luck. Maybe there was a reason. Maybe it was so I didn't get trapped into doing work at 2 a.m. and then sit there until the sun came up. I don't know. But it's having the wisdom to go, you know what? This is where we're at, and we just need to ride this wave until it ends. And this energy is not, this is just a for now thing. You know, for 1 month while Mercury's retrograde, while we're feeling the immediate effects of the eclipse, and we've just had the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, so all of that energy is starting to play out. This too shall pass. So this truly is about riding the wave, and it's having the wisdom to understand that now isn't the time to push. But ultimately, you will be successful. And this is what you need to remember in those moments where you're choosing whether you do surrender or whether you really hang on to the things that aren't serving you and aren't working. When you do follow the guidance and the wisdom that you have and that you understand, you'll ultimately be successful. So then we have one card from the Spirit Cards Oracle deck, which is a John Moseley deck. I just got it at Conscious Life Expo. I'm obsessed with this artwork and this deck. And we have Spirit Priestess, Sovereignty, Emissary, and Femininity. So this is about you having total autonomy over yourself. This is about being a sovereign being and moving at your own pace. This isn't about moving to some timetable or some schedule that you think that you need to. And it's about honoring exactly where you are and where you need to be. So this really is a month of just understanding, surrendering, going with the flow, and just embracing the adventure that's ahead of you. The other thing is with the Spirit Priestess, this is about femininity. So if you are a woman, embrace your femininity, tap into the divine feminine. If you are a man and you're watching this, this is about the balance between yin and yang. And maybe you have been so in the masculine that there needs to be a slight balance that needs to be restored. And so tap into that part of the femininity that exists within all of us. So look, I think that how difficult this month is up to you. And that comes down to if you're going to fight what's happening or if you're going to trust the universe, surrender, and just enjoy the ride for what it is and see where everything lands and then go from there. And for those of you that picked pile number 3, which is the red tiger's eye, we are going to have a look, starting with the Future Higher Self Oracle. You will be surrounded by people with different agendas. It may scare you away, but fight it. You got this. Learn how to honor and treat your body well. Remember, many of the clouds casting shadows aren't real. Rejection is for your protection. There's nothing outside of you that can fulfill you. Take chances. You'll realize how perfect something will turn out. Okay, so I have to chuckle right off the bat because in one of the other piles I was talking about rejection is the universe's protection. So clearly it's a theme for this month. So first off, you'll be surrounded by people with different agendas. It may scare you away, but fight it. You got this. I think that right now, if we look at what's going on politically, on the world stage, you know, there's this conflict with Iran. Dubai was bombed, all of that. And I had a discussion sort of on this topic with a girlfriend earlier today, and we were talking about why people have different opinions on things. And one of the things that I talked to her about was in Australia when they were having the referendum on gay marriage. I spoke to someone and I said, so you're voting yes? And they said no. And he was an older man. And I said, why wouldn't you vote yes for this? And he was someone that I knew when he was younger was wouldn't say bordering on homophobic. He just didn't understand it. It was scary to him. But he had grown into a place where, you know, he was very accepting. He had gay friends, and, you know, I've seen him kiss and hug them hello, and he's very comfortable in their presence and all of this. And I'm like, why would you say no to your friends being able to marry their partners? And he explained to me that he had gone to school with the nuns teaching him, and they had drummed the, you know, church's philosophy on gay marriage and homosexuality into him. And while he had no issue with the law being passed, and if his friends invited him to their wedding, he would go and celebrate and be so happy for them. But he couldn't vote yes because of the programming from when he was younger. And there were a group of us, and we all sat around and we talked about it and we cried. And I had a deeper understanding for who this person was and their thinking. And I think this highlights where we are in the world, that we've gotten to a point where most people, when you have a conversation like that, would just label him as being homophobic, and that would be the end of it. And the reality is that's not a true statement at all. It's factually incorrect. And when you learn about other people's lived, we always hear my lived experience, my lived experience. This is what my lived experience is. Okay, but other people have different lived experiences, and it doesn't make one person right or one person wrong. What it means is there is a reason why this person has come to these conclusions. There is a reason why this person supports a certain political party. There is a reason why people support different sides in a war. And it is the time this month to have conversations with people. You don't have to agree with them at the end of it, but we've lost that civility where we're able to converse and try and have a deeper understanding of who each other are and where we've come from. So if you find this month that you are surrounded by people that you very strongly disagree with, if you feel the urge to run, maybe it's time to just stop and have a conversation and say, okay, why do you feel this way? And just listen to what they're saying. It may change your mind. It may not. It may just give you a deeper understanding of who they are and why they feel the way that they do. And no matter what the outcome of that conversation is, you may learn something. And I hope that you do. So just be in a place where you're open-minded and you're prepared to hear something. And you know what? You could meet a whole new circle of people that you didn't know could be interesting or beneficial to know. There is something around this, and it's so interesting to me that this has come up right after I've had this conversation with somebody else earlier today. So just don't be scared away. Have the conversations, be present, be open-minded, and if after the conversation you're like, there's nothing there for me, great. Move on and go about your day. It is a month where you need to be taking care of yourself physically, and whatever that means. If you're not getting enough sleep, if you're burning the candle at both ends, if you're working ridiculous hours, if you are, eating for convenience versus eating well, these are the things that you need to take into account. There's a reason why you're being told to take care of yourself physically, so make sure that you are doing that. Remember that many of the clouds casting shadows aren't real. So here's the thing. So many of us live in a space where, oh my God, this could happen and that could happen. And oh my God. And it's, we kind of go around in circles when we don't have all the information, and we think about everything that could go wrong, and we play out all the different scenarios in our heads, and we call people and go, oh my God, this could happen. And what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And we go round and round and round. I have a rule now. If somebody needs to talk, I'll always listen to them. But if they want to be in that doomsday spiral, I will not participate, because I am not going to worry about things that haven't happened. I'm not going to focus on things and freak out about something that has not happened and probably won't. So you know what? Let's focus on what we do know. And let's deal with everything else as it comes up, because when you're living with anxiety, you're worried about things that haven't happened yet. You're in the future, and we don't know how things are going to play out. And if you go back and look at times in the past where you've been freaking out about something, oh my God, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this. You know, you haven't heard from your partner. Oh my God, they could be cheating on me. They could be out with this person. What if they're doing this? What if they're doing that? Do they just not love me anymore? And you know what? Their phone battery died and they had no charger, or something happened. Because at one point I dropped my phone in water, then I stuck it in rice, and then a grain of rice got stuck up in the charging port. And so then it went from that to I could barely charge this thing. I had to go buy a new phone. But do you know what I mean? It could be any of those things. And because you know, maybe we've been hurt in the past. Maybe it's just that's how our mind works. We're a pessimistic individual as opposed to being more positive focused. But, you know, your partner comes back and says, oh, my God, my phone died. I couldn't get it to charge. I couldn't get it to turn back on. And, you know, I was trying to get a hold of you, but I don't know your number anymore, because nobody knows anybody's numbers anymore. You know, whatever it is, and everything's fine. But you've spent most of the day spiraling because you can't get a hold of them, you know? So again, ridiculous example, but we worry about things that aren't happening, that aren't necessarily real. So let's focus on the things that we know, the things that are actually happening, that do exist, and we'll cross those bridges, and we'll worry about everything else when and if it happens. Rejection is for your protection. Always say, when things don't work out, even when we're devastated over it, there is a reason it's happening, and the universe is always protecting you. The universe will always lead you where you're meant to be. I told this in the other reading where I just brought up that saying, and so I'll tell it again. There are moments where things don't happen. We're led up a different path. And I know I had this, there was a job that I really wanted, really, really wanted, and I didn't get it. And I was so devastated. And then I ended up going and working somewhere else. And I remember it was 6 or 8 months later, I was sort of standing in this place where I was working, and it was just in a bar. And where I had wanted to work was at the casino, because I knew the tips that could be made. It was at a time where shortly afterwards there was the Gangland War, and there was all this other stuff going on. And, you know, I know a lot of girls that worked there around that time, and they got sucked into that world. And I was young enough that you never know. Instead, I was with a bunch of people that taught me so much about life. I had so many adventures with these people, and they supported me through so many life-changing moments. And I remember standing there one day in this bar, and I looked around and thought, oh, I needed to be here. I needed to be here with these people. And I did. And ultimately, years later, I ended up going and getting that job at the casino, and the universe showed me why I never needed that job in the first place. And I worked there for a couple of years. So sometimes we get the answers as to why these moments of rejection happen, or the universe just doesn't give us what it is we want. And other times we never get the answer. But what I will say is, you have to trust that whatever happens is happening for a reason. And this is a moment where you have to go, you know what? I don't know why this hasn't worked out, but I know that it just wasn't meant to be for me. And there is a reason why this has happened the way it has. There's nothing outside of you that can fulfill you. So if you are searching for something or someone, you have to realize that everything you need is within you. And when you are happy and satisfied and fulfilled in that way, everything else sort of falls away and becomes unimportant. So I think that there's a question in terms of something that you're searching for this month, and this is the time to realize that everything you have is within you. The other things can make life easier and be great, all of that. But it is a time to get comfortable with you, who you are, every part of you. Then we have take chances. You'll realize how perfect something will turn out. So something is going to present itself, like there's an opportunity that's coming up, and say yes. I go through stages in life where if things feel like they've been really shit for some time, I'll just say to myself, okay, I'm saying yes to everything that comes my way, everything within reason. And people will call me and go, hey, do you want to do this? Sure. And some days I'm getting dressed going, why did I say yes to this? I don't want to do this. And do you know what? Have the best freaking time. Meet somebody that's really interesting, even if it's a snooze fest of a party, or end up at a gathering that is just so great that I end up being the last person to leave. You go on some random adventure with a friend and just have this great time, whether it be the bonding with your friend or doing something else. Maybe a job opportunity pops up and you're like, I can do it, but do I want to? Yeah, because you don't know what else it'll lead to. So just be in a space of saying yes this month. Okay, so then we have 3 cards from the Sacred Destiny Oracle. So we have solitude, power, and openness. Okay, so there's nothing outside of you that can fulfill you, and we have the solitude card. This is a month of self-reflection. It is a month to figure out exactly who you are. It's a month to, if you're not already there, fall in love with who you are and love that you are perfect exactly as you are. We all come down here to be our individual selves. We all come here to, complete our own journey. And this is a time where you have to realize that who you are is absolutely wonderful, and some time alone and having that solitude to get to know yourself, to be at peace with yourself, to really reconcile who you are and what direction you're moving in, I think is really important this month. In doing that, you will begin to understand the power that exists within you. And you are so much more powerful than you realize. And the reason why you're not realizing it is because if you are not embracing your individuality, if you are not embracing who you are, if you are, focused on other things and thinking that you need someone or something else to complete you, you're going to get lost in all this other space and noise. And so in that solitude, you're going to discover the power. And that's probably what will help you have these opportunities present themselves to you and also be in a place to say, hell yeah, let's go. And then the final card from the Sacred Destiny Oracle is openness. And as soon as I pulled that card, this is what I was thinking about. You'll be surrounded by people with different agendas. It may scare you away, but fight it. You got this. And do you know what? The other agendas, maybe the reason you're surrounded by them is because you are going to be educating them. But you can't do that unless you have an understanding of who they are. And in order to have an understanding, you have to have an openness of heart, an openness of mind, to have the conversations and have that understanding of who they are, where they're coming from, why they are operating the way that they are. And when you offer that to people, often it's reciprocated. So just take that time this month to have that solitude, to have that time alone, to kind of reintegrate into who you are. Because often we do it and then the world and life gets in the way and we kind of get lost in a whole bunch of different ways. So just I think that is going to be the most powerful thing that you can do, and create stillness for yourself. And then that will allow the rest of this to unfold. And then finishing up with a final card from the Spirit Cards Oracle deck, John Moseley, is Medicine Woman, nurturing, healing, and restoration. So this is a month where you need to take care of you. And again, this comes back to the solitude, and there's nothing outside of you that can fulfill you. And I think that when you have that balance, and this comes back as well to learn how to treat your body well. I think when you have that balance within your body, the rest of it, in terms of worrying about the shadows that are being cast and knowing that most of them will never actually be real. You'll never get rain from those clouds. You'll never feel the shade or the coolness that happens when those clouds come over the top of you, because they don't exist. They're a figment of your imagination. So I think that getting your body in balance, so body, mind, soul, having that time away from the world to take care of you in all of those facets, and have that oneness once again, and that balance is going to make the rest of this month kind of unfold in a much better and easier way for you. So for those of you that missed it, Anne and I did an episode of Gemini Rising with Jai Gobind, and loved that conversation. We talked about human design. We talked about astrology. We talked about ancient Egypt. We talked about the current state of the world. It was such a wonderful, wonderful conversation with a fellow high viber. So please go and check that out. I will have the link in the description below. And as I always say with all of these readings, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. I always suggest that you come back sort of mid-month and see how the month is playing out for you, whether the reading is accurate, whether when you come back a different pile is speaking to you. Go and listen to that. Maybe there's a message that you need when you get to that moment in time. But take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Thank you so much for all of your support. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, so that I can keep this content coming for you. And if you're watching this on Sunday, March 1st, I will see you tomorrow for the weekly Oracle Wisdom. Have a great March, everyone.